You can see the live there.
Yeah. A very good morning and a warm welcome to this webinar titled Sectoral Trends in Indian Economy, Issues and Policy Responses. I am Tessie Tadathil, Vice Principal, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome our accomplished and senior resource persons, Mr. Chandrasekhar Tilak and Mr. Nupur Acharya, both of whom were very gracious enough to accept our invitation and are present here today to enrich us with their vast experience and knowledge. I also welcome our tireless principal and leading light who forges ahead with courage and determination, Dr. Rishikesh Soman. This webinar has been jointly organized by the Department of Economics and Banking and Accountancy and Costing, and I extend a very warm welcome to the conveners of this webinar, the modest and perfectionist Dr. Sheena Matthews, who is Head Department of Economics, the highly qualified and purposeful Professor Dr. Niloofar Raina, Head Department of Banking and Head Center for Skill Development, and CA Umesh Kulkarni, our taxation expert and teacher par excellence, Head Department of Accounting. I also welcome our flock of faculty, both young and younger, and of course, how can I forget, a very warm, happy, bright morning to the heartbeat of our existence, our dear students for whom this webinar has been organized. Our college strives to deliver quality education, and our vision is to be a center of excellence in developing global competencies through knowledge creation and dissemination, character building, and social commitment. We are affiliated to the Savitribai Phule Pune University and belong to the Symbiosis family founded by Dr. S.B. Muzumdar. We have been re-accredited A+ by NAC and have the honor of being recognized as a college with potential for excellence. In the light of this background, we continue on this quest for learning, and this webinar, as you all know, aims to provide an overview of the current economic trends of our country in these testing lockdown times, to touch and discuss about the pertinent issues related to the Indian economy, to understand responses and the reasons which motivated these policies and the impact of those policies, and also to discuss about the trends in the capital and money markets. On the agenda today, we begin with the welcome address of our principal, followed by the talk by our esteemed guest, Mr. Chandrasekhar Tilak, on changing economic and investment scenario. And finally, Mr. Nupur Acharya will enlighten us on Indian monetary policy response to the pandemic and the impact on stocks and bonds. The talks of both speakers will be followed by question answers, and questions may please be posted in the chat box while the session progresses. I now invite our esteemed principal, Dr. Rishikesh Soman, to please deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Tessie. Good morning to everybody. Today's chief speaker, Chandrasekhar Tilak ji and Nupur Acharya ji. Welcome to Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce. Tilak sir and we are associated for quite some time now, and he has been a regular visitor before pandemic to deliver lectures on budget in our college, and we always cherish his lectures. And today also, when we listen to his speeches and his articles, we not only just gain a detailed knowledge about the entire phenomenon, but also his sense of humor makes it very, very interesting to read or to listen to. So I welcome you, sir, to Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, and looking forward to your speech. And I'm sure everybody will be very much get enlightened actually. These kind of activities are part and parcel of our college, and since autonomy in 2012, our college kind of has initiated so many things. We have started professional association with ACCA or CIMA, or we have integrated multidisciplinary approach in BCom program by adding liberal arts courses to BCom. So we try to actually offer students variety of options to build their career, to develop their own kind of expertise. And these kind of guest lectures or webinars, nowadays webinars, in those days, I would have invited him on the campus and he would have traveled all the way from Thane to Pune for this delivering one single lecture as such. So in a way, what we can say, blessing in disguise, this pandemic has also given us a great alternative, I would say, and without wasting much time in traveling, we could reach out to any distance geographically and yet equally effective. So I believe that pandemic has got its own kind of limitations or shortfall or whatever it is, but at the same time we have to also understand the benefits of that. Of course, being a college and being a teacher, I do miss students on campus, and unless that lively audience is there in front of the speaker, you really do not get the feel of delivering a great speech as such. So yes, that is a great limitation, but I believe that this webinar and the lively question answers will certainly overcome that particular limitation to some extent at least. So I also welcome Nupur Acharya, who has been with Bloomberg as Asia reporter for quite some time, and if I mistake not, he's coming to Symbiosis for the first time. Welcome, sir, and I'm sure you will have a wonderful experience talking to our children, and our students will also have great opportunity to listen to you, and they will be asking certain questions which I think you will be able to find very interesting. So I once again welcome both the speakers. I thank the organizers for having this particular webinar. We just started this academic year and immediately the activities have started. So this is one of its kind, and I request them to keep continuing these activities on a regular basis so that the students will be benefited, because we always take the teaching actually beyond the four walls of classroom, and here actually we are beyond the four walls of classroom in virtual world. So let's try to reach out to them from different dimensions. So I once again welcome all and wish all the success to the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Soman sir, for your warm words of welcome and for always supporting and encouraging us in all our endeavors, and especially for helping us organize this webinar. This morning, it indeed gives me great pleasure to introduce the first speaker of the day, a very senior and renowned professional having more than 4 decades of experience in the financial services industry, Mr. Chandrasekhar Tilak. Mr. Chandrasekhar Tilak sir started his career way back in 1980s by being associated with the accounts and finance divisions of 2 companies, the UK Indian subsidiary ICIM and Blue Star Limited. Later, in 1988, Sir joined the Bombay Stock Exchange and was one of the youngest officers deputed from any of the recognized stock exchanges in India. Later on, Sir went on to serve as the Division Chief Investigation Officer at the SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India. Sir has also served as the Assistant Vice President of INSEC Share and Stockbroking Limited. After Sir's successful stint at SEBI, Sir went on to be associated with the National Securities Depository Limited, NSDL Group, and retired in 2020, having served for 22 years as the Chief Risk Officer and Executive Vice President, NSDL E-Governance Infrastructure Limited. In this capacity, Sir has handled various activities related to national pension system, like implementation of national pension system in all the state governments as well as union territories, including more than 1,600 state autonomous bodies. Sir has also been instrumental in the implementation of Atal Pension Yojana and Swavalamban scheme covering more than 3 crore subscribers. Sir is an ardent writer and has not only written award-winning books on stock markets, finances, and investments, but has also written numerous poems and short stories on various themes. Sir has published more than 2,500 articles and has been regularly conducting online investment and training sessions. Sir has been the recipient of various awards like Dr. R.P. Parnerkar Economics Award, Tejas Puraskar, Swami Vivekanand Puraskar, Vocational Excellence Award by Rotary Club, Excellence Award by Pumba, to name a few. Sir has been delivering lectures and annual budgets presented by central government since 1988 and has delivered more than 4,000 lectures on topics ranging from economics, finance to stock markets, investments and beyond. Sir has been invited as a keynote speaker in various seminars and has also provided his expertise on areas related to stock markets and finance in various radio and television programs. Thank you very much, Tilak sir, for having accepted our invitation and being amidst us today to share your valuable insights in this national webinar organized jointly by the Departments of Accountancy and Costing and the Departments of Economics and Banking on the topic Sectoral Trends in Indian Economy, Issues and Policy Responses. I now request Tilak sir to enlighten us with his insights on the topic Changing Economic and Investment Scenario. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Right at the outset, let me express my sincere thanks and regards to all the faculty members as well as the principal of this college who are helpful in providing me this particular opportunity to be with you over here today. Let me hasten to add that I'm really thankful to Madam for providing such a kind words of introduction. Since May 2020, I have retired, and even before that, we were having a work from home culture. And once you are at home, you are always under a consistent and concurrent audit of your family members. And any objective of any audit is always to find a fault. And if I have to receive one for so many months together, then it really comes as a surprise and some sort of a booster when such kind words of introduction are being provided. So right at the outset, let me express really heartfelt thanks for the same. Let us rush to the topic proper for the day, because I'm very much aware that my co-speaker is also waiting in the wings. So I should not trespass much as far as his time allotted are concerned. And being a man from the capital market, time is always the essence of contract for me. Okay, as the current topic for today's session is that current economic and investment scenario or changing economic and investment scenario. Really, whenever I'm conducting a session or the series of sessions which I have conducted for many institutes in the recent past, whenever that this is related to the economy and market. And whenever I feel that I'm talking or discussing or thinking about these two topics simultaneously, that is economy and market, I'm always reminded of a famous quote by world famous investor Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has once said that economy and market are just like husband and wife. They are related, but they are distinct and separate. And really, that's what a scenario is as far as last 19 months are so concerned. Because on one hand, we are saying that that pandemic called Corona, which was triggered by China, and that would remain a topic for discussion for probably years hereafter, whether it was merely a medical disaster or a military disaster or economic disaster, whether it was accidental or either otherwise, but I'm not going to touch upon those particular points. It's certain, as last 19-20 months are concerned, not only our own national economy, but economies of have seen the worst as far as their own independent economic histories are concerned. But as far as our country is concerned, on one hand, immediately after the first ever lockdown was announced in our country, the first ever quarter of April to June 2020 recorded a GDP rate of -24%. And as far as the current year of financial year, the first quarter of the current financial year, that is April to June 2021 is concerned, now it is reported that we have recorded a GDP growth rate of +20%. All of you must have realized that when I was talking about April to June 2020, I said GDP rate, because when you are having a rate of -24%, I'm really afraid to use the word growth. But as far as this -21, the current April to June 2021 quarter is concerned, it is +20%. So if at all we have really moved to the extent of 44% in a span of 1 year, it needs to be noted somewhere. Of course, some would like to record it with a pinch of salt, but I'm not on that as far as today's date is concerned. But during the same period, if we try to track the movement of BSE Sensex, then one can realize that the highest point of a BSE Sensex in the calendar year 2020 was 44,000, whereas the lowest point of BSE Sensex was somewhere in the vicinity of 26,000. So if we track the BSE Sensex movement for last 21 months, that is from 1st of January 2020 to say today the 17th of September 2021, it is a progress of 44,000 to 26,000 to 59,000. That means at least 3,800 point movement per month. I know that as I'm coming from a stock market, and my first ever assignment with BSE when I joined it in June '88 was being a member of a Sensex committee, because I had started my career as a computer programmer with ICL UK. That might have tilted in that favor. And that's why I know that such statistics do not matter. But what certainly matters and what would certainly become handy as far as the current era as well as the coming era is concerned, and especially when we are addressing the students at large over here, I do feel that Corona may be removed or eradicated if at all it's a medical disaster. But one thing is certain, that certain things have been proved as far as the last 21 months or at least last 18 to 19 months of Corona affected our economy is concerned. And first and foremost is that probably now our country is becoming one of the favorite destinations as far as the foreign direct investments are concerned. I'm not saying the only foreign direct investment, but certainly I'm saying one of the favorable and favorite destination as far as the foreign direct investment is concerned. If that was not the case, certainly one could not have registered the highest ever forex reserve level of $617 billion, which we are enjoying as of now. That happens to be the highest ever level of our forex reserve since 1947, when our country got independence. There are various factors which need to be understood. Let me hasten to add over here that although we are patting our back as far as the national economy is concerned, that not only have recovered from -24% to +20%, but at the same time, and it has boosted to the extent of $617 billion, there are certain things which are emerging. And probably these particular factors need to be considered as I'm addressing the students which are associated with Department of Banking, Department of Accounting, and Department of Taxation. These particular segments henceforth will have to calculate and consider many more fields. When I passed out my graduation in 1980, in my final year accounts, I always used to have a separate. Probably henceforth, I will have to have a separate attention as far as accounting for small scale industries or the cottage industries and various logistics industries are concerned. Because not only their taxation and accounts, but their finance and consideration would also happen. And one thing is very sure, that till now, generally the IT sector companies used to employ business domain specialists. Now probably this particular field would grow like anything. And probably that would be a huge scope as far as the students of commerce, economics, finance, investment, and taxation are concerned. Because if nothing else, one thing has proved, there are various reasons why this particular level of $617 billion is concerned. And that's why I jocularly say that it is not a level of 59,000 of BSE Sensex which matters, but the means and meanings thereof need to be understood and analyzed further, because that would throw a light to a great extent. Let me highlight few points as far as this particular point is concerned. It may amount to just showing a syllabus or running through a syllabus, as generally is the case that whenever your first session of the year you have for a particular subject, the faculty member concerned generally just introduces a syllabus, and over a period of time he goes into the details. So this being a syllabus as far as this thing is concerned. As all of us are quite aware, that first ever lockdown in our country for 3 and more weeks was announced somewhere in the month of March. But from there within, hardly in few weeks, Reliance Jio was able to garner more than 8,000 crores as a forex reserve. And Reliance Jio, I'm just citing it as an example. It is not that that was the only company. Many other companies from telecom sector and others also garnered that particular business. But even then, the people were choosy, not only within the country, but even outside the country. So that particular industrial house, which was able to establish its credentials, not only after Corona, but even prior to that they are able to produce and maintain a global standard assets in the country, such things have happened. It is worth Ambani brother named Mukesh was able to garner 8,000 crores. During the same period, another Ambani brother named Anil was pleading before the courts that he doesn't have sufficient money to pay the lawyers. So not the name, but not the title, but the performance and perception about those industrial houses do matter. Till then, as far as the pre-corona period is concerned, only services sector was to be understood as a performance and perception. Also, Reliance Jio is from a service industry, but Reliance Industries as a group is basically an industrial house. And that's why the first ever lesson which post-corona economy has taught all of us, whether you belong to agriculture sector, whether you belong to industrial sector, or you belong to a services sector, certainly the performance would count. But besides the performance, even the perception about you would count. And probably over here, I'm reminded of a famous dialogue in that old movie called McKenna's Gold. In that particular movie, there are two stars or stalwarts. One is Gregory Peck and another is Robert Redford. Both of them are thieves, but they are at an international level thieves and they are not the local or a small pocket thieves. And in that movie, in a one particular instance, Gregory Peck tells Robert Redford that not only gold, oil and coal are geographical neighbors, but they are the commercial neighbors. Probably taking a clue therefrom, we will have to concentrate in the current era as well as in the forthcoming era that which are the industries or services, which are the performance or perception virtues, which are not only the geographical neighbors, but also the commercial neighbors. Because it has not happened only in April to June 2020. We have seen the similar circumstances or instances even in April to June 2021. All of us are quite aware that during this particular phase, once overnight, China announced that they henceforth they would not be accepting the Bitcoins kind of a currency as far as the mode of payment for the commodities exchange transactions in that particular country is concerned. All of us are quite aware what sort of a level and position China enjoys as far as medium scale industries and commodity markets, not only within them, within their country, but globally. And at this particular news, when that particular news reached our country, for that particular day, our market trading operations, their daily trading operations were closed. And it was widely debated and discussed in that evening on our electronic channels as well as in social media that the next day when our BSE and NSE would start their daily operations, probably our indices would open with a negative gap on the lower side. And there were very few mad voices like me who said nothing of that sort is going to happen. At the max, it would open flat, and in reality, it would open at a higher scale. And it did really happen. So not only in April to June 2020, but 1 year down the line, when all the national economies of their respective country have shown the various yo-yo kind of a scenario as far as economic trends were concerned, our country continued to have, and the tendency being a favorite final destination, one of the favorite final destination if you have to qualify, because Department of Accounts is also associated. So let me qualify my statement as if I'm submitting an audit report. Under such circumstances, we need to understand where from these things come. I would like to take all of you some years back, or to be precise, 30 years back, because this particular crisis is having some sort of a similarities or resemblance as far as 1991 crisis is concerned. But certainly, as far as 1991 economic crisis was concerned, it was peculiar and specialized for our country and not for other countries. But in the same country, just imagine the situation of our country in 2008 compared to 1991, and compare the situation of 2021 of our country to 2008 as well as 1991. Even in 1991, when we were having the forex reserves sufficient to meet only 2 weeks of import, at that point of time, so we were begging, I'm afraid I'm using a wrong word, but we were moving around the world in order to garner the foreign resources. At that point of time, I was associated with BSE and NSE was yet to come into existence. And many of these foreign investors used to have told us that point of time that certainly we hold your country in good state, because the earlier regime of Chandrasekhar and Yashwant Sinha went to the extent of mortgaging the gold, but ensuring that the foreign obligations are met in time. And it was contrasted with the Far Eastern economic reviews of 1980s, But they said, as far as your trading settlement systems in the market is concerned, as far as your settlement systems in the market is concerned, your floor-based trading and delayed settlement systems are concerned, we are afraid that we will not be able to do that. But just imagine that in last 19 months, India happens to be the only country who has not even once delayed our trading cycle or a settlement cycle even by a day. This is one of the reasons why we are turning out to be the basic country as far as one of the favorite destinations of things are concerned. And as all of us are quite aware that we are at this juncture in a T+2 kind of a settlement. When I joined Bombay Stock Exchange in 1988, we used to have a 15 days of a trading cycle followed by another 15 days of a settlement cycle. Dr. Soman sir and the equivalents would agree with me because we have witnessed that scenario. The generation of today's students are happy that they have neither seen a physical share certificate nor they have seen a floor-based trading. I'm not just glorifying the past, but I'm just highlighting the present future. And then we have introduced the stock exchange in a computerized mode. NSE came into existence, BSE came into existence, NSDL came into existence, CDSL came into existence. And now we are having a rolling settlement on T+2. That is, if I trade on Monday, settlement would be on Wednesday. If I trade on Tuesday, the settlement would be on Thursday. If I trade on Wednesday, the settlement would be on Friday. If I trade on Thursday, the settlement would be on Monday, because Saturday, Sunday, before 1st of August 2021, banks do not used to make a clearance. And if I trade on Friday, then I used to get a settlement. I have a settlement under T+2 on Tuesday. But as all of us are quite aware, that our country and our government policy makers have made a good use of this opportunity, and they have now asked all the banks from 1st of August 2021 that all of our individual as well as institutional accounts should be open for debit and credit on all the 7 days of week and all the 24 hours a week. And that particular process is stabilizing. Under such circumstances, SEBI has already announced that from 1st of January 2022, our country would be having a T+1. If we are really able to implement that particular system in T+1 category kind of a scenario, under such circumstances, ours would be the first country to do it. Not only this particular point, which I need to highlight, because being a man from capital market, that to be associated with stock exchange, SEBI or NSDL, I had a 22 long year service with NSDL, and throughout my 22 years of career, at any given point of time, I was either a chief compliance officer or a chief risk officer or a chief vigilance officer of NSDL. So I know these rules by heart. And that's why I said that those countries which were pointing fingers at us at 1991 that you are having a delayed settlement are now persuading the Indian policymakers, please delay your decision of a T+1 because that is not in my favor. But it is easy to boast like this. But I'm typical capital market man. Although my surname happens to be Maharashtrian, I have studied more in Gujarati colleges. So by instinct, I'm like that. And market is always saying Maneshu. That means what I will get out of it. Just imagine, it is easy to say it is T+1, but just take in mind or keep in mind the enhanced role as far as the compliance is concerned, enhanced role as far as the surveillance is concerned, enhanced role as far as the network maintenance is concerned. Just now in his introductory remark, Principal Dr. Hrishikesh Soman sir was saying that it is because of a technology that we are able to do this kind of a seminar, which we have never heard of or not even thought of. If someone was to say, just contrast this particular situation. When myself or Dr. Hrishikesh Soman or any student of our generation decided to have some sort of a correspondence course, it was looked down as if he doesn't have any IQ and that's why he's going for a thing. And nowadays, for last 19 months, virtually we are having the online course. It is a different version of a correspondence course. But over here, the surveillance not only of your IQ, but surveillance of your intelligence and IT system quotient and team also comes into the picture. And after spending 22 years with NSDL, I can certainly say these kinds of a certification is a combination of your accounting, economics, finance, and IT sector combination. And henceforth, we are not going to miss on this particular thing. This is the factor which needs to be understood. And as our country was able to do it, because throughout the lockdown period, you would have realized that there was an embargo as far as the movement of men and material was concerned. but there was not an embargo as far as the movement of money is concerned. And those countries who were able to take care, not only China banned cryptocurrency, but our policymakers consistently have taken a stand that as of date, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin is not formally recognized currency. I'm very careful about my word, but I will stop over as far as this particular point is concerned, because I'm very much sure that my co-faculty member for the day, Mr. Nupur Acharya, would be talking about it more, because he is talking on this particular topic more from the banking side. So it will not be fair on my part to trespass on his country, territory, and I really do not intend to do that. So if these particular factors that strengthened trading and settlement system is the fallout as far as the corona economy is concerned. Not only this, another criteria which has taken place, or another factor which we need to consider over here, and that is work from home. It is really a game changer as far as the post-corona economy is concerned. And now it is official that whether there is a corona or no corona, one thing is very certain, that majority of the jobs in our country would continue to be on a work from home. Many big conglomerates have already asked people that till the time you and your reporting boss are comfortable, we have no issues or hassles to continue with a work from home category. And from my own experience, I can tell you, because although I retired in May 2020, last day when I was able to attend my office was on 20th of March 2020. So from 20th of March 2020 to 31st of May 2020, for those 2 months, I was working from home and handling 11 different activities, and 248 people were reporting to me. So I know it is what sort of an Herculean task it has. When I retired on 31st of May, a separate board meeting was organized online again, just to commemorate me. And Shailesh Haribhakti, the leading chartered accountant of our country, is our chairman. And as I retired as the chief risk officer, in the lighter vein, he asked me that, Shekhar, what would you suggest to CFO? Because you will agree with me that the role of a CRO is always in loggerheads with a CFO. And in a lighter vein, I said, sir, if nothing else, if tomorrow someone crooked person like Chandrasekhar Tilak becomes a head of the HR, then he would like to have a look at the nomenclatures which we are having in our payslip. Because work from home has certainly altered our income cycles, our consumption cycles, our investment cycles, and our investment expectation cycles as well. Because you would realize that in our pay slips, we do get the nomenclature like basic, DA, HRA, conveyance allowance, and everything. It is not a play of words. But in order to have the cost-cutting measures to be implemented, there is every likelihood that some of the companies in the days to come would say that conveyance allowance was paid to you in a pre-corona days in order to facilitate your movement from your office, from your residence to office and back. Nowadays, you are connecting from your home itself. So instead of giving you a conveyance allowance, I would give you a connectivity allowance. Generally, conveyance allowance was merely a nomenclature in order to take advantages of the taxation law. I'm not saying avoiding the taxation law. I'm saying making good use of a taxation law, and that was used to be in the thousands of rupees. But majority of the companies of our country who are employing more than 250 or 300 employees, now they have started appointing a global vendor at a company level, and they will make a direct payment to the global vendor, and that global vendor would pass on that particular payment to the local vendor whose network and Wi-Fi facilities these persons are enjoying or utilizing, who are getting connected to the office system from work from home kind of a category. Under such circumstances, my cost to the company or a CTC will not undergo a change. But certainly my take-home pay gets reduced. Not only that, the payment cycles or the salary cycles of our corporates, I'm not saying that corporates are not paying the salary, please don't misunderstand me, but certainly the dates are getting altered. There are instances, although limited in number as of now, that the salary is getting paid in installments. But during the same phase of 19 months of lockdown, my cash expenditure has gone up. So in one particular instance, my cash income or my take-home pay is going down, but my cash expenditure is going up. Many of us might have read into the newspapers that as far as April to September 2020 is concerned, the cash transactions in our economy have gone up by 48.72%. That means it has virtually wiped out, at least by half, the demonstration impact as far as the demonetization exercise was concerned. Because of which, now many persons have started looking at capital market or any other field of investment sector as a regular source of income. In a pre-corona days, generally the people used to look at mutual funds or the capital market or the share market for that matter, more as a long-term investment or for receiving the dividend or to gain some regulatory or taxation benefit, especially of a tax saving schemes of the mutual funds. But after advent of a corona, when our income cycles have got deferred and delayed, and when our consumption cycles and the cash cycles are on up, now people have started looking at it. And this culture or a phenomena called work from home have really enabled us as far as this particular provision is concerned. Because as all of us are quite aware that in case of a pre-corona days, except the watchman and chairman, no one else from our side in the middle management or a lower management was able to decide when he will be out from the office. And once you are in the office premises and you are logged into your laptops or the workstations, whatever the case may be, you are dependent on office network. And majority of our corporate offices have banned the access by way of office network through the office network to the sites related to the capital market. But now it is not a phenomenon. Although I'm working for hours together or even much more for a longer working hours in a work from home scenario, I'm getting connected by way of a local network. And at the same time, as I'm depending on a local network, I may get connected to the office system by way of my laptop, desktop, iPad, tab, whatever the case may be. My smart mobile is always available with me. And as I'm no more restricted or hampered by office network, I'm able to have the access to it. I'm not giving you a theory, I will be able to substantiate it by number. You would realize that in the calendar year 2020, 63 lakh new trading cum demat accounts were opened in our country. In first 9 months of 2021, another 42 lakhs new trading cum demat accounts have been opened. So almost in a 21 months, we have opened more than 1 crore new trading cum demat account. Just imagine, for each and every account, there is a service. For each and every account, there is ongoing compliance. For each and every account, there is an ongoing surveillance. Under such circumstances, if these particular accounts are active, which are, I'm substantiating it further, just imagine what sort of the opportunities are coming into. Because till now we were feeling that it is more to do with the fund manager and others. But now it would be related to the KYC, surveillance and compliance as well. Especially the students who are associated with accounts and taxation and banking and finance, as far as these two are hosting departments are concerned, this is a factor which needs to be considered to a large extent. It is not merely a coincidence that many broking houses have started looking out for the campus recruitments. Many broking houses are coming with IPOs and other issues because they are looking at IPOs more as a source of income rather than this thing. And when I used to be associated with marketing exercises of BSc and NSDL for more than 30 years out of my 40-year service in this field, I am aware that this particular number and rate at which these accounts are getting opened, they are really startling. But even in those pre-corona days, although 5 lakh, 6 lakh account on an average used to get opened, 60 to 70% of the accounts used to have a very infrequent transactions. But these more than 1 crore accounts which have been opened in last 21 months, to go by the BSc and NSE statistics available on their websites, more than 92% of accounts are getting active. That doesn't mean that each and every account out of this 1 crore are trading every day. I'm not saying so. But certainly the number of persons who are trading into the market, number of brokers who are trading on behalf of this increased number of clients, and number of scripts in which these particular trades are getting executed, that is also getting widened. Not only because of my system-driven systems, not only because of my shortened settlement systems, but because of this widespread interest among the investors, widespread interest among the scripts, widespread interest among the brokers, and brokers are providing both kinds of services to you now. Number one, that they are asking you to place the order by way of a phone and they will execute it on your behalf. Or to some of their selected few clients, they have provided the direct access to the trading system. Just imagine not only the trading and investment opportunity, but just imagine the enhanced career opportunities as well. As such, the composition of these things are getting changed to a great extent as far as the post-corona things are concerned. And this is not restricted to it. If you are really looking at, there are certain distinct and most important features of the developments as far as the capital markets and other investment fields are concerned. They are not restricted only to the secondary market. You would have realized that although we are saying that calendar year 2020 has been washed out by Corona, one can't forget that more than 38,000 crores were raised in the same calendar year 2020 by way of a primary market. And mutual fund NFOs are also not way behind. We are having more than 45 mutual fund houses operational in our country. These 45 mutual fund houses taken together have certainly come into the picture as far as their 1,000 schemes are concerned. And you would realize that in a span of last 6 months, at least 55 mutual funds have come out with NFOs, that is new fund offers. And this particular trend would continue. And that's why I said as far as the post-corona economy is concerned, this particular trend needs to be understood. But one has to be very clear that this cannot be generalized to a great extent. As in my association with capital markets since June 88, I have always witnessed in the past that whenever we used to face these kinds of turmoils, then the advice used to be given that it is better to invest in a defensive sectors like pharmaceuticals or infrastructure. But you would have seen that even within those sectors, the people have become choosy. Even IT sector are generally the propellers as far as our market is concerned. But in the post-corona stages, we have seen that there are 3 segments of the 3 trends emerging in the same sector called IT. And over here, your banking expertise. Over here, your IT expertise. Over here, your financing expertise would come into the picture. Because the financing pattern and leveraging thereof would be the thing of the days to come. I would cite one particular example. As I have been told that students and faculty members associated with accounts and finance are the one of the co-hosts as far as this seminar is concerned. For them, they would be able to catch this point very fast. Just imagine that since September 2020 to September 2021, that is last 12 months, consecutively our monthly GST collections have gone up, and majority of the times they have garnered more than 1 lakh crores every month, barring the exception of June 2021. It is certain that my economic activity was picking up, and that's why I said right in the beginning that April to June -24, April to June 2021 +20. That means in this -24 to +20 GDP rate, certainly my economic activity was picking up. But was it the only reason why my GST collection every month was high? If I have to believe it, then I am living in a fool's paradise. Coming from a background of NSDL and coming from the person as a CRO and coming from the background that I started my career as a programmer, I try to always find a pattern into it. And then I realized that since the implementation of PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act in our country way back in 1994, each and every stock exchange, each and every stockbroker, each and every depository participant, each and every bank, each and every insurance company, each and every mutual fund were submitting the data to the various government departments, and they used to lie over there. But in last 6 to 7 years now, that is getting correlated, and especially in last 21 or 22 months are concerned, they have that accentuated that particular process, or they have accelerated that particular process. Now, once I file an income tax return, then I may get a notice later from a government saying that thank you very much, Mr. Tilak, for filing your income tax return in time and making payment of your payments very duly and diligently. But on scrutiny of your income tax returns for last few years, we have realized that your income has gone up by say 10%, and at every point of time you have paid the huge tax. No issue. Thank you very much for that. We are ready to commemorate you, and then you may receive a certificate on your email. I do not know what to do of that certificate, but I do receive. and then they will add over there. But then we realize from your Form 16 that you are working with this particular company in such and such super post. But if we try to track the trend of your rising income and rising bonuses from your company from your Form 16, that is not equally proportionately represented as far as the business volumes reported by your company in GST. I have already applied, I have already filed, they have scrutinized. In some cases, they have made me the refund as well. So now there is very limited scope as far as my IT returns are concerned. Willy-nilly, the only recourse available to me is to that update if I have short reported earlier as far as my business volumes under GST is concerned. And this particular process is going into. And that's why you would have realized the data related to the fields related to data mining, data analytics, and others are keeping fields. If it is happening with GST today, that may happen with other taxes tomorrow. Again, there is a, as I say, proof lies in eating the food. I will give you the food. On 1st of February 2021, when our Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced a budget, she made one particular announcement that if a person who is a taxpayer happens to be more than 75 years of his age and he is having pension only as his source of income, he need not file the income tax return. Mark the word, she is saying as the Honorable Finance Minister of our country presenting an annual budget that I need not file an income tax return. She is not saying that I need not pay an income tax, because she is very much aware that if I am receiving a pension, it is in a bank account. My each and every bank account is linked with Aadhaar as well as PAN. Under such circumstances, when they are saying I did not file an income tax return, then certainly it is that once she knows that I have not filed an income tax return because I am doing that particular thing, the government on its own has every reason, right, and result to say that just run a query on Chandrasekhar Tilak, this PAN number, this Aadhaar number, just find out whether he is having any other bank account because my income has to get credited over there, and they would come to it. Under such circumstances, few years down the line, probably all the categories would be told that you need not file a tax return, and government would tell me, and that has already happened. Not that I have to not to file a tax return, but if you are a PAN card holder and if you are a salaried person, you have seen the messages received from ITD from the period April to September and messages received by you from September to March. Up to April to September, they will send me a message asking for first few digits of my PAN, and they say so much of income tax has been deposited under this PAN so far. In last few months or weeks, they will tell me that boss, according to us, so much of income tax shortfall is there. Kindly have a look at it. In the days to come, government, by making use of this particular trend, would say that Mr. Tilak, this was your income. This was your income tax. This is the shortfall. If you pay within 48 hours, nothing like it. Otherwise, I will use my sovereign power and debit your account to the tune of tax payable. Under such circumstances, the entire vicinity or a facility of filing an income tax return would be waived off. Because even otherwise, we are facing the problems with income tax portal at this particular juncture. Just I'm forecasting under such circumstances, see what sort of a phenomena we are going to have. Imagine another thing. There is every likelihood that if it is happening today for GST, if it is happening for income tax, tomorrow it may happen to securities transaction tax, stock exchange turnover tax, and everything. And really the speed at which the stock exchange volumes and stock exchange indices are going up, this is certainly going to happen. Is it not a new vista altogether as far as the current trend is concerned? I'm not again just kite flying. Just look at the results and the share prices. Those IT sector companies who were able to catch up on this kind of a data mining, data analytics, cloud computing, providing the softwares and others, say example TCS and Persistent Systems, their share prices have soared. Within the same sector, if Infosys is finding not only a difficulty with income tax portal, but they were not able to catch up, the share prices of Infosys and Wipro, although they are from the same IT sector, they have not gone to the same extent as TCS and Persistent System is concerned. And there is an extreme case of Majesco. The same company with IT sector who paid rupees 971 as a dividend in a corona period when their market price was 990. Now they are saying that we are on verge of closing down our business in India, because I was used to get a major business from America. But as we have announced Atmanirbhar 1, Atmanirbhar 2, Atmanirbhar 3 in our country, when China, America is saying be American, buy American, when Japan is saying we have started looking inward, under such circumstances, just see the changing composition thereinto. And this is the current trend as far as the post-corona economy is concerned. Even within mutual fund NFOs, you would have seen that companies are now coming out with a dividend yield scheme. So just imagine, then if the tomorrow people start thinking that I will come because I'm conducting the regular training sessions. Virtually on every first Saturday of every month from 7 to 9 AM, I do conduct a session on day and position trading. More than 50 participants every batch, they are attending that particular session. And therefrom, I'm really witnessing that now people are interested more in applying to a primary market and getting a listing gain in their hands. They are not only day trading, position trading or intraday trading in a secondary market, they are doing it in a mutual fund NFOs as well. Is it the reason why particular mutual fund is able to garner more than 12,000 crores in a single issue? Just after another mutual fund has garnered more than 9,000 crore in the preceding weeks. Do we have that much of a liquidity and investable surplus? So just see the profitabilities as far as these fund managers and other things are concerned. And another area which has really come into play is the policy making. I have been associated with NSDL for a long. In my capacity as a national in charge for the national pension system for the last 10 years of my service, I have worked closely with PFRDA. Earlier, I have also worked with SEBI. I have also worked with BSE when there were no other competitors. In my other finance capacities, I have worked closely with RBI and others. So I know that whenever any regulator makes a policy, they do it after a thorough study. But now over a period of time, and especially in last 19 months, it has realized that only that sectoral balance or the sectoral deep study doesn't have the impact or the meaning. Because I will give you an example what I'm talking about. Because whenever any policy, one thing which is getting underlined as far as last 19 months of Corona is concerned, is that not only any policy initiative would have only the intended effect, there is every likelihood that it would have an unintended effect as well. Over here, the economics, over here, the investment, over here, the taxation comes into play. I will give you two examples of it. The first ever lockdown in our country was announced in the month of March 2021. Sensing the severity of it in a very good interest, good intention, Reserve Bank of India, the most respected regulator, not only in our country but globally, Nupur Acharya sir would substantiate that in his session, and took a decision that they are ready to provide the extend the period to extend the period within which those installments and interest would be paid. They have not waived a loan. They have not waived interest. They have given a moratorium because they said whatever little liquidity this industrial sector would have, that can be better utilized for sourcing the raw material, for dispatching the finished goods or paying a salary. So the liquidity in the economy would continue. And that's why they said for a month, then for a 2 months, then for a 3 months, intentions were quite good. It was not wrong. They have not waived a loan. So no problem. But it had a huge and worst impact as far as the liquid mutual fund schemes were concerned. Because as all of us are quite aware that NAVs of where all these things generally picked up, or because the yields picked up when their maturity period comes into the play, or their payment cycles come into the play. But when it got delayed, the huge pressure came on a liquid fund, and Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund announced overnight they are closing down the 6 debt schemes. And it didn't restrict over there. Then SEBI undertook the inspection of various other things. So just imagine, henceforth in a post-corona economy, the investment field would always lay emphasis as far as the interrelations, interdependence, currents, cross currents and undercurrents of these segments are concerned. Is it not a good exposure and experience and expertise which will be needed as far as these things are concerned? Can we make use of this intermittent period to update ourselves accordingly? And this was not a solitary instance. Same thing happened that under that Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana, we said that henceforth we will be concentrating more on cottage industry, or we will be attaching the importance more to the small scale industry and medium scale industry. Somehow that particular fund flow might not have got adjusted to that level which government was expecting. And that's why SEBI announced for the mutual funds that mutual funds who are running the schemes in the nature of growth and balance, as of 31st of August 2021, whatever the asset under management under these two categories of scheme, they will have to ensure that at least or a minimum 25% goes to the small cap. Minimum 25% would go to the medium cap. Just imagine the word is minimum, not maximum, and remaining portion can remain. As all of us are quite aware, generally the huge money or the largest chunk of the money is parked in a large cap because they are having a good trading frequency. And it was not with a prospective effect, it was with a retrospective effect. Lakhs of crores of rupees of these two schemes were there. Those two types of scheme were garnering as their asset under management. Just imagine if this particular decision would have been implemented, because on first hand, these mutual funds would be willy-nilly forced to offload their excessive holding in large stock. Mutual fund selling in a short span of time, the index would have gone down. And then that money would have chased the small cap company or a medium scale company. And certainly so huge floating stock of these companies are not available in the market. In that case, too much of a money would have chased too little of a security. What would have been the impact? Is it the reason why we are saying that medium scale companies gave me more returns than the large cap, and small cap companies gave me the more returns from the medium cap? Under such circumstances, fortunately, this decision was not implemented. And then they come to a conclusion or a byway, and they say that it would not be with retrospective effect, but it would be with prospective effect. And that's why these mutual fund houses came out with a new concept called flexi cap. The performance remains the same, the nomenclature changes, but under such circumstances, my compliance rule, my surveillance rule, my accounting rule, my scheme booking account rules will always change. Is it an opportunity for me as a banking student or a finance student or a taxation student? And that's why I said, I gave an example that when I was a student of commerce in 1980, I used to have a separate chapter for electricity companies. Is it a need to have a separate chapters for all these things? And to conclude, which in one industry which has really emerged strong out of this is logistics. Whether it is pharmaceutical, whether it is everything, those logistics things marked. Just imagine, just imagine. As I said, in a such pandemic situation, people say invest in pharma. But why is it that many pharma companies are now getting moved to a trade-to-trade segment? Take a classic example of Glenmark. Nothing personal against that company. Please don't take it that way. Glenmark was the first Indian company to announce that they are on verge of launching a corona-related drug. This announcement was made on Friday evening. On Sunday morning, I was conducting a class and someone asked me, "Sir, shall I buy the Glenmark on Monday?" I said, buy at 9:30 in the morning and sell it at 10:30 in the morning. He said, why? I said, after that, that script would go to trade. Nothing personal, but a history of Glenmark says that they always run the gun. Until now, the Glenmark medicine is not available as far as the things are concerned. But their Fabiflu, another tablet made by them, it is not a vaccine, but it is a tablet. And it was in existence even before Corona. Zincovit, another tablet of Corona, again by Glenmark. Again, it was available even before Corona. And when government is saying at that particular point of time, the government machineries were insisting that if I'm found detected of a Corona, then I have to take a allopathy medicine. And whenever I was going to allopathy doctor, he was saying 9 Fabiflu on first day, and for next 30 days, 4 Fabiflu every day. That means every Corona patient must have 130 Fabiflu. If we take at least 2 crore people had undergone allopathy treatment for Corona in this period, show me one person who was able to get more than 100 Fabiflu in one gate or more than 50 Zincovit in this thing. It was not that the production was not there. The same thing happened in vaccines, the logistics. And that's why pharmaceutical companies are facing into it. But the same logistic company which earned the most was IRCTC. Because of the paucity of time, I will not dwell much upon it. But certainly, if you are really interested and if you are agreeing with the views which I have expressed so far, I have started my YouTube channel in May 2020 after I retired. And over there, every week, I will upload at least 3 videos thereinto. And in a recent video, which I uploaded on Wednesday, that is day before yesterday, it is related to IRCTC. The script which was quoting at 900 in the pre-corona stage, now it is quoting at 3,800. I do agree market price of a share is not the only criteria to evaluate a company, but that highlights and underlines the process of logistics very well. And that's why I will always say that, as Soman sir has rightly said in his introductory, that certainly Corona was not a period which we have asked for, but certainly it has given us an opportunity to have a fresh look as far as these things are concerned. And I'm sure, not because my surname happens to be Tilak, or not because my birth sign happens to be Gemini, or not because I had more than 40 years or 35 years with the capital market, or not because I'm married for the last 35 years, but I'm always positive, because that is the only way to survive in this economy. And let us have a look at it. I'm very much sure that the change is certainly around the corner. It has already implemented. Otherwise, we are very least eager to accept a change. Now that change has been thrust upon us. So let us make a best use of it. As I said, this data mining, as I said, this logistics, as I said, this financial services, as I said, these various things do happen. And last but not the least field, which I would conclude, if you don't mind, I'll just give you 2 minutes for me, is defense. That is going to be another game changer in a post-corona economy. As a part and parcel of Atmanirbhar 1, it was declared that in coming days or next 3 years from 2020, 75% of our defense requirement would be produced locally. We have started implementing it. And then it was also stated that for any tender up to ₹200 crores for a procurement of goods and services, henceforth it would not be a global tender, but it would be a local tender. Just see the impact it has as far as the companies like Mazgaon Dock, Hindustan Aeronautics, BEL, BDL, HAL are concerned. It was not only the defense sector government companies, but it is certainly the private sector players who are giving the importance of providing their goods and services to the defense sector is concerned. See the impact as far as the Tata Motors, Eicher Motors and Bharat Forge is concerned. And again, that would be another area, because defense accounting is to some extent different than our normal accounting. Another area where we need to look into. Space research and food industry would be another. But because of paucity of time, I have to concede a station to my co-colleague as well. With these words, I would like to conclude my session. I hope this particular current composition of economy and investment, I was able to bring it to your notice. Let me be very honest to tell you that I was trying my level best to concentrate more on the positive and happening thing rather than a negative thing, because negative things for last 19 months, our media persons have channelized and discussed it to a great extent. Let us come out of it. Whatever has happened, and let us prepare ourselves. And it is always said that when you are not in a position to maximize the profit, minimizing the loss is also a commerce trick. So let us reverse it nowadays. And I always say, as Shelley has said in one of his poems, that if you love something, set it free. If it was yours, it will come back. If it doesn't, it was never yours. Probably Corona, post-Corona economy is telling us the same thing. Wish you all the best and provide a free and frank feedback about my session to your faculty members. Once again, I'm thankful to Principal Soman sir and all the professors and faculty members associated with both these departments for providing me this opportunity. I'm equally thankful to my co-speaker, Nupur Acharya ji, as well as all the dear students and faculty members who are attending this particular webinar. I wish all the best and all the good. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, and extremely sorry for exceeding the time. Extremely sorry. Extremely sorry, Nupur Acharya sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Tilak sir, for infusing those positive thoughts, especially in such gloomy Corona times. We are also very thankful to you, sir, for taking us through the trends that has been observed in the capital and financial markets, right from the time Corona pandemic broke out in March 2020 to date. Thank you, sir, for highlighting the strengths of our economy, for the reforms that has been taken place in the financial and capital markets, especially the T+1 settlement, and for reiterating the fact that India is the favorite destination for the FDIs and FIIs. Thank you, sir. We have received overwhelming responses as far as questions are concerned, but since we have the paucity of time, we'll be just taking 2 questions.
Please.
Thank you, sir. So the first question that has been asked is, what do you think is the main reason as to how the index, that is both the Sensex and the Nifty index, has settled within such a short period of time after the pandemic broke out?
I was expecting this kind of a question, and that's why to some extent I have already prepared a background as far as my deliberation is concerned. There are 3 basic reasons. Number 1, as I said, the flow of foreign FII. Another, many and more persons looking at capital market as a regular source of income rather than anything else. And third, the huge responses which all of us have given to the mutual fund NFOs. Because whenever the primary market IPO gets a response, that much of money doesn't flow to the capital market, because those resources are generally raised by the companies in order to meet their own financial resources. And so by the time the capital market takes cognizance of it, there is some sort of a gestation period. But that doesn't happen as far as the mutual fund NFOs are concerned, because the SEBI rules are quite clear that once I have my issue closes within a particular stipulated time, I have to invest the money. And because unless and until that is done, they will not be able to give me the credit units of or thereof. And when you are, that's why I said SBI garnering 12,000, ICI garnering 9,000, 60 NFOs in a span of 4 months, what else would happen? Point number 1. Point number 2, one thing is very sure, that the inter-say of the market is going up. Another area that government disinvestment is helping. Another area that government pushed the government sector companies that they should pay the dividend not only once in a year, but they should pay the interim dividend as well. And that's why when the people were running short of their regular income or the revenue income, they started having a looking at it. Because once come dividend, ex-dividend picture comes into the play, under such circumstances, the prices go up and resultantly the index go up. And as another basic backgroundal factor as far as all these things is concerned is the safety which they assure, and even otherwise consistently, for good reason, again, for good reason, not only in our country, but across the world, the central banks of the governments have started reducing the interest rate drastically. And it has another impact as far as interest related instruments in our country is concerned. And then retired people or the people on verge of retirement, they became very much conscious of it. And that's why they're the only course of having it either a mutual fund or an equity market. And another reason, very subtle one, and to a great extent a smaller one, and because it is very close to my heart, is that emergence of pension funds and pension product. Say out of 4.5 crore NPS accounts which we are having as of date, I can vouch that 3.9 crore accounts were opened in my tenure. So I know how difficult it is. In our country, pension is always a push product. Very rarely it is a pull product. Whatever may be the age, वो बताएगा या pension कौन सोचेगा बुढ़ापे के दिन अभी थोड़ी बुढ़ा हुआ हूँ मैं. It is not that only female members of our society deny their age. Even the male members of our society deny the age. But Corona made people very much aware कि boss किसी की भी death हो सकती है. Number 1. And number 2, whenever possible, I don't know when those unwarranted circumstances would erupt and emerge. I don't know when my particular income source would get frail. Under such circumstances, I have to provide something. Under such circumstances, when the pension plans start receiving the encouraging response, they are always a long-term player. And such these long-term players' role increases or the participation levels increases in the market, the Sensex goes up. Not only the pension front like NPS of our country are investing in our market. Acharya sir would agree with me, or rather he would be in a better position to give more the data because I'm a retired person now, that certain even within the FII and FDI in our country, the sectors related, the companies and institutions related to the pension products in their respective countries have enhanced our country. See, to that extent, our market or our insurance sector is becoming important because in pension products in our country are even provided by the insurance company. They are even provided by the mutual fund company. And if they design their product accordingly, there are certain associated tax measures. And that's why all of all the persons, a person like Warren Buffett has to say now, Baba, Indian market is overheated compared to the Indian GDP rate. All of us know that Warren Buffett is an insurance conglomerate. Under such circumstances, by saying so, whether he is paving his way of entering the LIC IPO or what, I don't know. It's another issue altogether, but such multiple factors combination has resulted in a short span of a time. And let us hope that it lasts and at a reasonable level.
Yes, thank you, sir. The second question is to do with cryptocurrency. I know, sir, this is something that you said Nupur sir will be handling, but we would like to hear from you as well. So the question is, cryptocurrency market has all sorts of players. So how will RBI address this concern?
Oh, my. A very difficult venture to ask for me, because not for even a second I have worked with a banking sector. But drawing by my experiences, one thing is very certain. As of date, it would be too early to predict such a thing, because what has happened as of now is that consistently, right across all the governors which we have till date, especially in the last 20-25 years, Reserve Bank has steadfastly refused to give official recognition as far as the cryptocurrency is concerned, number one. And number two, as all of us are quite aware, that this subject is already before a parliament, because finance minister, while giving her a reply in a parliament floor, has said that government is coming out with a specific law. That till that moment we will have to wait. But personally speaking, I am refraining myself from giving a use is that probably because of my age or something, but I am damn prejudicial against cryptocurrency, because I personally feel it is even worse than my share market, because in share market there is something called perception, but there has to be something in performance, and cryptocurrency as of now is more coming out of a thin air. That's what my impression is. Of course, there are virtues therein too as well, but we need to see how that particular thing gets, because I personally believe that there are a combination of three types of risk as far as the cryptocurrency is concerned. One is related to system. Another is related to the leverages, and third is related to the compliance. Because I do agree cryptocurrency and bitcoins are the call of the day, but Acharya sir would agree with me that it is not that every country is having only one currency kind of a thing, even in a crypto or a bitcoin. There are baskets of it, and many of them or a majority of them have collapsed in last few months, and that's why China banned that particular thing. And as of date, that is a currency which is neither backed by a sovereign guarantee or nor backed by anything. And that is my problem. And that's why it is a very complicated topic. It would be very difficult to answer such questions in a few minutes. And probably Acharya sir would be in a better position. I concede my field to him.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for so patiently answering all the questions. Since we are falling short of time, we will not be taking any more questions.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nupur sir. And thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us today. So now I request my colleague, Ms. Aishwarya Kalyan Shetty, to introduce the second speaker for the day. Over to Aishwarya.
Thank you, Ginny ma'am. A very good afternoon to each one of you. I quote Peter Forbes, stories create community, enable us to see through the eyes of other people and open us to the claims of others. It is with immense pleasure that I introduce to you our guest speaker for today, Mr. Nupur Acharya, a storyteller with a wide experience of business news and opinions at global media companies. Sir currently works as Asia reporter at the Bloomberg LP and is focused on writing on India's $3 trillion equities market for global clients. He's also an opinion writer for Global Markets blog, makes regular appearances on Bloomberg TV to discuss key issues impacting Indian financial sector. He has worked with many prestigious institutions in a wide variety of roles. Staff writer at the Wall Street Journal, principal correspondent at CNBC TV 18, principal correspondent finance at the Press Trust of India, to name a few. I have to mention that Sir reported on nation's biggest business channel during the global financial crisis. He was also the producer for Indianomics, a weekly show on India's biggest macroeconomic issues during his tenure at CNBC TV18. Nupur sir is not only a great journalist and a passionate storyteller, but has actively involved himself in various volunteering activities. He has voiced Hindi language story video for primary students, and this content was used to teach prose, grammar, and assisted Hindi learning at Teach for India. He conducted digital literacy sessions for beneficiaries of Shamata at United Way Worldwide. Also assisted in spreading awareness about HIV/AIDS at the NAS Foundation India Trust. Your work in the field of journalism is extremely noteworthy. Sir, bhool chook maaf if I have unintentionally missed out on some of your achievements. We are humbled to have you amidst us, sir. On behalf of everyone at Symbiosis and our lovely participants, I cordially welcome you to speak to us on the cure, RBI panacea for the pandemic, and the impact on stocks and bonds. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are. You are.
You know, when somebody introduces you, it looks like you're talking about somebody else. I'm not that guy, you always have that feeling. But it is indeed a very, a big honor for us, for me to speak to students, the ignited minds of Symbiosis. And I'm also moving with a little bit of trepidation here. In my profession, for most of the times, I had to ask all the tough questions. Now, when I'm presenting it to students, I'm really nervous what kind of questions would really come to me. But as you started the introduction, I am a storyteller. So why not let me share the story of how we've covered it. Consider it as like a reporter's diary, or a chronicle of what has been happening for in the last 18-19 months. I would just share my screen for the presentation. Give me just one second, please. Is it visible to all participants?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, great. So before I take a dive in it, it so happens coincidentally that today I complete 18 months of working from home, and I'm pretty sure that most of the students, it's no different for you guys as well. We've adapted to the changing circumstances. The classroom, the canteen, the library, everything had to, narrow it down in a 14-inch screen. The complete social circle and friends all narrowed into a 6.5-inch screen, and this is how we have done. And there was also a lot of uncertainty. What is my future? What will really happen to our careers, our degrees, our courses? Where would I get a job? I have to apply somewhere. What would be the timelines? All sorts of questions emerged. And to be very fair and honest, these were the similar questions which were, in front of the regulators as well, because this was a crisis which was new. Nobody knew, and it was a medical crisis. It was not a financial crisis. But everything like behind numbers, there are people, and behind people also there are numbers, which have to be managed. The economy has to be managed. So as we dive into it, let's talk about the cure and RBI's panacea for the pandemic and the impact on stocks and bonds. I'll start with this quote. In the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists. The reason why I use this quote is Mahatma Gandhi was quoted, and this particular quote was used by the Reserve Bank of India governor in April 2020, just weeks after he announced a very sharp cut of 75 basis points and unveiled a number of measures. And you would realize that Mahatma Gandhi would have been a constant source of inspiration for Dr. Das, because he kept on using him in his subsequent addresses to people and his policies as well. So you would see that we are moving together. The regulator specifically was moving with a lot of hope despite the challenges which were ahead of us. And why the big challenge? Let's go ahead and see why it was a very big challenge for us. a once in a century challenge. We have the numbers here. Spanish flu 1918 killed estimated 50 million people. Coronavirus, we've been so far fortunate. The deaths have been far lesser. The impact has been larger, of course. But it's important to understand that you had no precedent of it in the last 100 years. How do you then create a policy? How do you prepare your war chest to deal with such an issue? And as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, that as students you adapted to the laptops as your classroom, you adapted to your smartphones as your social circle. The Reserve Bank of India also had to improvise and try and find out the best ways to deal with this. So let's see what finally was in the medicine box of Dr. Das. RBI's medicine, of course, you had the very traditional way of dealing with it, is to cut policy rate, and that was probably the first thing which he did by reducing the policy rate by 75 basis points. But these were very extraordinary circumstances and required extraordinary thinking from the regulator. It is important to understand here is that apart from administering the medicine, there is also the importance of bedside manners. When a crisis of this scale and magnitude strikes, you would always have a lack of confidence. There would be uncertainty. You cannot look ahead what lies in the future, and you would always need that reassurance. And RBI was always there. It was communicating more to the people. The words, as I started with Mahatma Gandhi's quote, were very optimistic, but at the same time, the governor was very, very balanced in talking about what the real challenges were. And they were really thinking out of the box to deal with it. One of the other measures which RBI took was the targeted long-term repos, or to be precise, providing the market some assurance of liquidity even for a longer term. They could borrow money. Operation Twist, they bought longer tenure bonds and sold shorter dated securities, which reduced the interest rates for longer tenure bonds, which helped and the market adapt that going forward the rates are coming down. GSAP is probably one of the most innovative ones which came out of RBI's medicine box. The reason is because that really assured the market of liquidity taps. This was very targeted. The RBI announced it that we would be buying X amount of securities. No questions asked. The market was assured that more and more liquidity would be flowing into the market. This is just a few of the the most important tools which the RBI used. Of course, they had taken a number of other measures, including offering the moratorium for borrowers, which provided them the relief. So how did the treatment proceed? From inflation to growth, whatever it takes. RBI's mandate has been to ensure price stability while keeping the growth momentum for the economy. This crisis had it focusing more on growth and was becoming more tolerant to inflationary pressures. And in quoting Dr. Das himself, he said, whatever it takes to support growth, which, as I said, the bedside manners, which had provided a lot of confidence to market participants that the central banker is there very much around to take care of any kind of problems with the system or the financial system or the shock which the financial system may encounter. They had about 250 staff in bio bubble to ensure continuity. We've talked about, of course, there is no denying from the fact that our doctors were right at the forefront, handling this crisis day in and day out, not being able to meet their families. But in the background also, to help the wheels of the economy running, we had 250 staff members of RBI in a quarantine facility, unable to really go home, to ensure that there's a continuity, that the economy is prepared to handle any kind of shock. The reduction of policy rates by 115 basis points to lowest ever, and we continue to maintain them. We are not raising rates, we are not cutting rates, but we are ensuring that the rates stay at the lowest level ever. So and the last time when the governor spoke to all of us, he said as long as necessary, the rates would be kept lower. So this was another part of the treatment. The injection of liquidity, this was a big one. We had about 8.7% of GDP is the amount of liquidity which had flowed into the market due to the actions taken by the Reserve Bank of India. And I remember the RBI Deputy Governor Michael Patra speaking a couple of days back and said that 9 trillion rupees of liquidity is being absorbed on a daily basis. So you would understand that there is ample and more liquidity available in the system and there are no qualms, there are no shocks which people can expect. They can breathe easy. There's also this bit about greater RBI and government collaboration, which you would see. Traditionally, people would believe that RBI and government may not look eye to eye, but they're working together. They're seriously on the same team. And there was a much greater coordination which was seen between the Reserve Bank of India and the government of the day in dealing with this crisis, which was, again, a very big source of comfort for the market participants. Let's go to the impact. Finally, what was the impact? Because, you would not, such big actions will always have very large impacts on asset classes. The immediate impact on bonds is closer because the Reserve Bank of India manages the borrowing of the government, was lower yields, which was a very immediate impact with 75 basis rate point cut and about 115 till now. But the tightrope walk came where they had to manage government borrowing because the demand was really not coming. Market participants, there was a lot of times when the RBI had when the RBI auction of government bonds was getting devolved onto underwriters. So that was a tightrope walk because the Reserve Bank of India was also trying to ensure that bond yields remain in a reasonable corridor. The yield curve remains reasonably, it moves in a reasonable trend. So that was the big tightrope walk to manage government borrowing. They also used this time to ramp up their dollar reserves. So exchange rate management was again a big issue. Now, when you try to ramp up your dollar reserves, you would anyway buy dollars, but end up infusing a lot of rupee liquidity into the system. And then again, you would need to ensure that it does not really go to add to the inflationary pressures or and you have to absorb it. So there was a very there's a lot of balancing act which is required, and that is what the bond markets witnessed. As of now, you would see the bond markets are performing very well. There's a very strong momentum. The FII buying is again back in bonds, and there is a lot of chatter around it that we would be a part of global bond indices, which opens up a big market for foreigners to invest in bonds issued by the Indian government. So a very strong positive momentum there. Let's move to the other major asset class, the stocks. What was the impact there? And Mr. Shekhar, of course, mentioned and covered a whole host of things, across the board. I would just supplement to what he'd been saying. So these are the facts right now. Nifty is up over 130%. It should be more now, given that we have again today the markets are in the green from the record lows touched in March 2020. Mind you, India's stock market performance is today the best in the world. Of course, we are up there among leaders, among major economies. We are the best performer in the world. And what has been really driving it? Mr. Shekhar mentioned about the FII buying, which is again strong. FIIs have bought about 900 million so far in the first 15 days of September, $900 million in the first 15 days of September itself. There has been a retail rush. From 4 lakh new Demat accounts per month, we are now averaging 26 lakh new Demat and trading accounts, which is a huge jump. And still, we are way behind compared to the world. We are only 6.5% of our adult population in India is dealing in stocks compared to 55% of adults in the US. This has been sourced from a recent speech by the SEBI chairman. Now, what is the reason for the retail boom? The Reserve Bank of India reduced the interest rates. They wanted to keep it low. So what happens? The investment options are suddenly very few. where would you put your money? Where would you put your surplus? The bank deposits are really not going to fetch you much. The real estate market for at least for 2020 has, or for the last at least 6 to 7 years, has been in a slump. So, and there is a limit to how much gold probably a household could buy. So the obvious answer, finally, there is no alternative. The alternative for investment was stocks, which were providing handsome returns. There was ample liquidity, which was supporting a downside, and you had low interest rates and the stocks performing very well. So this was the big impact in stocks. Now, with this, run up in the stock markets, run up in the bond markets as well, the challenge for the Reserve Bank of India is very, very high now. Why it is high? Why do I say that? Is that now the difficult part would be to unwind the policy. Mind you, when you're cutting rates, you are very, very sharp, aggressive in reducing them, but you cannot follow the same pace when you try to normalize the rates. So first of all, the first part of the unwinding would be to make sure the timing. You have to be very sure that the economy is walking on its own feet, because the Reserve Bank of India's one decision would impact the markets or the economy with a lag. So, and reserve banking, central banking is one of the very difficult tasks. I remember one of the central bankers is saying that you are moving forward in a car, but all the time you're looking in the rearview mirror. You have data which comes with a lag. You have to base your decisions based on it. So it makes it very difficult, because your steps would have an impact in the actual economy with a lag. So you have to ensure that the timing is right and the economy is strong enough excuse me, to walk on its own feet. So this unwounding of easy money policy, will it start by, will they start raising rates? Will they start sucking out liquidity? That is a question which is on everybody's mind. Will they move after Fed? Will they stay here longer? Are the key questions which everybody is dealing with. But as of now, this is where we stand. The Reserve Bank of India, as of yesterday, said that we require, or lower rates are warranted for economic recovery. And as we can see that we've just come out of a very deadly second wave of virus, it will be time before the Reserve Bank of India decides when to start unwinding its policy and normalizing the rates. You have to understand that we are right now here, and what was the latest thing what Dr. Das said in his last speech. But I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. Keep moving. Let nothing slows you up. Move on. This is by Martin Luther King, and this is what Dr. Shaktikanta Das quoted in his last address to the people in August last month. So from the consistent hope, the consistent optimism which the RBI has maintained throughout, and the impact it has had on the asset classes, is a very important lesson for all of us, because you have no other crisis of this magnitude in the last 100 years. And I would say that this is an extremely important learning exercise for all of us, even for a journalist like me who has covered many central bankers. But this was very extraordinary times. We all were struggling with our own challenges, right from tech challenges to sometimes attending to our loved ones, and also dealing with our task at hand. Maybe you with your assignments, your lectures, I with my stories, and also trying to get to talk to people and trying to get a sense of how this is unfolding for the economy. So these are very, very interesting times. Interesting times, I say, because this is central banking at its best. You would find very few examples of this. Of course, the Lehman crisis and subsequent Asian crisis before that had seen the strong will how the Reserve Bank of India moves, but they were not a scale where you were dealing with a human crisis as well, and the fallout of it in the financial world. So somewhere you had to balance it with financial instruments, but also you had to have a tone which would, comfort market participants that the central banker is here, he is around. So when it is dark enough, can you see the stars? So that is what probably my takeaway from this quote would be. I would keep it more interactive instead of really going detailed into trying to explain you things. If you have questions, I'd be very, very happy to take them. Thank you.
Many thanks, Nupur sir. You've made most of the difficult concepts easy to understand, especially with your special skills of storytelling. And we also kind of got a glimpse of the journalist side of you. So thank you for that. So we've got a couple of questions for you. First one is, could you shed some light on the global bond index, since RBI seems to be very keen on that? So if you could just shed some light on that.
So as far as the latest news which we've been reading is that India has been trying to be a part of global bond indices. Why this particular bit is very important for the country is that you have a lot of foreign funds which have a very mandated basket buying in global bonds. So if your country's bonds are a part of it, the good thing is then you become eligible for more foreign investment through bonds, and you are much more recognized in the financial world and much more accepted in the financial world as an asset class. So that is the reason, that is how it is. The last bit I remember what the governor had said was the discussions were still on. It is not easy process to achieve, but I think we are on track, and I think that should happen in some time soon. And that is exactly why we are seeing the interest among foreigners to buy India bonds has resumed or resurged in the last couple of weeks.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. The next question for you is, how will RBI address the issues of trade-off between growth and price stability?
My God, you've put me right in the hot seat of the central banker, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Das would also not answer this question. But what I could tell you from my reporting, it's not an opinion, but what we've been learning and what the RBI has been communicating with the markets and the participants has been that the inflation trends, which as of now they feel are very transitory in nature, the growth responses, growth impulses are encouraging but not strong enough, and it is extremely important right now to support these growth impulses, right? So that is what the RBI governor in one of the interviews said, that they have, yes, become more tolerant to the inflation pressures. Their target is to maintain the inflation at 4% plus minus 2% on either way, and so far in August, the August print was a milder inflation, about 5.3, 5.4. I'm not, please don't take me on those numbers, but around that level, which also provided a lot of comfort to the Reserve Bank of India to keep the interest rates at the lowest level. And we had, as I mentioned, Dr. Michael Patra speaking just yesterday in one of the events, and he reiterated that lower interest rates are warranted right now to support the economy. And as I said, it's every step has to be thought through and through multiple iteration. Why? Because I said the Reserve Bank of India's one action would then unfold over the next quarter. So it always impacts with a lag. So they cannot move in haste and try to disrupt the scene, and they cannot be extremely behind the curve as well. So the question still remains: would they go ahead of the curve or behind the curve in taking that call? You have had example of some Asian central bankers already moving in this direction, but there are still a large number of them who still believe that the easy monetary policy should continue before they rush in to raise rates. In the last RBI monetary policy committee meeting, they had one dissident voice who was in the favor of raising interest rates, but still the majority was in favor of retaining the easy monetary stance.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for that easy explanation, sir. I just have two last questions for you.
Please, sure.
Do you feel there is a major impact of Dow markets on Indian stock markets, the future Dow markets?
The future, you mean to say the US markets to the
Yes.
Indian markets? So
Yes.
if in my reporting on the last couple of weeks, usually we trade, we don't really, we're not too much decoupled from the way the global markets were reacting. But that was the story in 2020. Come 2021, the countries are in different stages of the pandemic, so and different stages of how they're dealing with it, how the vaccination levels are ramping up, how the corporates have responded to it, and how they have adapted to it, how people have adopted to it. So it's not a very easy block by block comparison, but off late you would see that the Delta variant is becoming a concern in even the developed markets, and there is also a big regulatory crackdown which is happening in China against industries. They started with polluting chemical industries. They came down very heavily on edutech companies. So there's been a very harsh regulatory action there. And then when you come to India, you can see that the vaccination rates have ramped up considerably in the last couple of weeks. There is also some moderation in the number of new cases which we are witnessing, though I would say that we are out of the woods, and I'm really no expert given that I have no medical background, but I just can speak on the numbers which we are receiving, which gives you a lot of comfort. Then you have a central bank which remains committed to keeping interest rates lower for longer. You have a corporate sector which has learned a lot in 2020. They used that period to deleverage their balance sheet. They are probably, now you have the cleanest balance sheet ever. For companies, you are seeing that we'll be entering our festival season from October. It is the busiest season for banks. And when all of these are moving, it's like the stars are aligned right now for Indian markets. You would see that there is a bit of decoupling as of now. The world markets might be weighed by a lot of concerns about how pandemic is showing up and how the new variants are impacting, or how it will finally end up impacting growth. You would see India as a very bright spot there, where you see a good ramp up in vaccination. You see a moderation in the new virus cases, which provides a lot of optimism. So as of now, there is a decoupling. We continuously, on the path of world-beating rally in equities, while in many markets you would see there's a lot of concern.
Right. So last question, talking about the busy banking period that you spoke about, what will be the next measure of RBI to have control over the borrowings?
The government borrowing, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, government borrowing is absolutely government's plan, because RBI only manages the government borrowing, and they have to ensure they can advise the government, but they cannot ask the government not to borrow. But one has to understand that even the government is cognizant of the fact that large scale borrowing like this, it becomes very difficult to absorb in the market. And they have been talking about the way you see they are moving ahead with divestments in their family jewels. You have the LIC IPO coming up, which would be a big revenue generator for the government. So there's a parallel thought right now. It's not just that everything would be coming to the banking sector for the government borrowing will be coming to the banking sector. There are other revenue streams which the government is trying to open up, because there has been a lot of government measures and infusion into the economy, and this is no different from any other economy. You have to support. This was a crisis of unprecedented scale with unprecedented outcomes and fallouts. So that is what probably the government is also trying to do. How the borrowing calendar would look like going forward into the future is very difficult for me to comment, and Reserve Bank of India also cannot, because it's the government to decide how they want to split the borrowing, how much they want to borrow, how much they want to raise from other avenues.
Right. Thank you so much for such an insightful session, especially with your special storytelling skills. I now call upon Ms. Vidhi Kalra to propose the final vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, I, Vidhi Kalra, Assistant Professor in Economics, is honored to propose the vote of thanks for the national level webinar on sectoral trends in Indian economy, issue and policy responses. I am humbled and extremely thankful to both our eminent and very talented speakers, Mr. Chandrasekhar Tilak sir and Mr. Nupur Acharya, for accepting our invitation and sparing their valuable time for us. It was indeed our pleasure to listen to your thoughts and professional advice. I'm sure we've all learned and imbibed quite a lot of things from you all. Tilak sir gave us some useful insights on the market structure of our country, whereas Nupur sir enlightened us with the insights about the RBI. On behalf of the Department of Accountancy, Costing, Economics and Banking, I would also like to thank our very encouraging and very dynamic principal, Dr. Rishikesh Soman sir, a very supportive vice principal, Dr. Tessie Thadatal ma'am, our registrar, Mrs. Gandhali Parulekar, and also the head of costing, Dr. Tessie Thadatal ma'am, head of Department of Economics, Dr. Sheena Matthews ma'am, head of Department of Accountancy, CA Umesh Kulkarni sir, and head of Department of Banking, Dr. Nilufar Raina ma'am, for supporting us in organizing this event and for always being there to guide us. My heartfelt gratitude to all the faculties of the Department of Accountancy, Costing, Economics and Banking for being the backbone of this program and for the relentless efforts made for the success of this very program. I also would like to thank Nitin sir and Nazir sir from the IT department for their constant and very prompt help, and a very big and heartfelt thank you to all our faculties and all the participants for being such a patient audience and being so interactive and asking us so many thought-provoking questions. I thank each one of you for your presence and declare the end of this program. I would also like to mention that we'll be sending you the feedback link on your email ID. I request you all to fill in the feedback link and you'll be getting the certificate for it. Thank you so much, everyone, for your presence.